What's up? I'm Coach Dan Blewett. In today's video, let's talk about why amateur catcher pop times are kind of crazy. They're kind of out of control. Many of the times are not reflective of real game pop times. And we'll kind of get to the bottom of what you should do about it. Is this wrong? Is it not wrong? Is it just part of the system? We'll compare it to major league players and amateur players. We're going to cover all in this video, pop times. All right, so if you're new here, I'm Coach Dan Blewett. I'm a former pro pitcher, and my goal here is just to educate you as much about the game and how to help you get to the next level. So if you're a catcher, we'll talk about some of the things that you do and don't want to do in showcases and all that good stuff today. So first, let's jump into it. Let's talk about game pop times, some of the things that happen in a game. So number one, the runner goes at random, which makes it a lot harder to be ready to make your best throw, right? The batter's in there, the pitch is random, could be a fastball, could be a slider, could be a changeup, could be at your face, could be in the dirt. It's obviously full speed, which is tougher to receive it properly. You might have to frame it, you might not. You're going to have to wait longer. Obviously, you're not going to frame it if a guy's stealing, but you understand what I mean. And your feet don't move towards second base. And what I mean by that is in the catcher mechanics, when you throw down to second base, you're not like stepping over home plate. Your feet essentially crow hop in place to get your footwork right. So that's very different than what happens in a showcase. So in showcase, what you see from these pop times, there's no runner. The pitch is slower because the coach is throwing to your right. There's a pretend hitter maybe that will swing the bat to try to help kind of delay you and keep you honest. And the rules and enforcement of don't cheat the pop time, right? It varies widely. So it depends on who's proctoring it, how well they know the game, and how strict they are, and how much time they have. I mean, the thing about showcases, and I've talked to a guy from PBR who was a higher up in Pennsylvania, and he was pretty honest about it. He's like, look, we have a lot to do in a short amount of time, so it's tough to enforce some of these rules. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And so here's some of the things that break down that these coaches have a tough time enforcing in showcases. You're in a higher second position, so that means, when second position is when runners are on. Guys are coming out of the crouch faster. They're receiving the ball way farther out in front, like they're reaching for it, and their feet are moving physically to second base, which does not happen in a game. So what happens here is that amateur players end up having faster pop times than major leaguers. So this is from Baseball Savant. So if you're not familiar with that, that's baseball's like StatCast sort of website where they're categorizing, making leaderboards, all that stuff. And this is from 2018. And these are the top 15 catchers as far as average pop time. So right here, you can follow my magnifying glass, JT Realmuto. He's the man. Number one, his average pop time is 1.89. And then as we go down here, you see there's not a lot of separation. These are all the way down to 196 in the 15th place here. And these are average pop times. So obviously, JT is going to throw a 2 flat sometimes, and then he's going to throw a 1.8 sometimes. And I think he's been as low as 1.68 or something like that, but don't quote me at this moment. The other thing you'll see here, which we'll cover in a second, is arm strength. So this is his average velocity, 81.1, which might surprise you that that's not really that fast, but it actually is pretty fast. So look, major leaguers, the very best, this is the very best throwing catcher in the world, essentially. He's averaging a 1.89. Now, let's go to some of the middle ones. So, 16 through 33, 1.96, 1.97, right? There's very little separation. These are 18 players here are between 1.96 and 1.99. So 0.03, 3 hundredths of a second are separating the next 18 or 16 big league catchers. Here's the bottom ones. The very worst averaging 2.14, and the bottom ones are averaging around 2, into 2.1. So let's compare that with, here's a perfect game national showcase for 2020. And the number one player here is 1.75. Now, this is a one-off, right? This isn't his average as far as I know, or any of these players' averages. I'm not sure if I assume that they're the fastest pop time they recorded that day, but you see 175, 178, 1.8, 1.8, 1.9. I mean, these are 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. Well, if this is 2020, then these would be, I guess, I don't know the exact ages, but these are all high school players, older high school players. And then we're comparing them to major leaguers who are throwing 1.89s on average. So you start to say, like, what's going on here? Why is it like this And what's the disconnect? Like, how are amateur players throwing faster, throwing better pop times than the major leaguers? So let's look at arm strength. So if you look here in the big leagues, number one, Jorge Alfaro, I think this is also 2018 data. His arm strength averaged 86.7. That's a hard throw. But look, this drops off really fast. The amount of guys that throw in the mid 80s, not very many. And then it quickly drops off into about the low 80s. And then below this, there's a lot of catchers who are in the 70s, even into the mid 70s. And here's another perfect game spot here. We got 87, 86, 85, 85, 85, 85, 84. So these are some really strong-armed young men. Now, here's what you need to understand about some of this data. This is a product of showcase enforcement and not really anything more than that. So obviously in the big leagues, I'm going to jump back here, these are in big league games, catching a 97 mile per hour fastball or 86 mile per hour slider in a game at random. They don't know where the location is going to be. They don't know when the runner is going to go, et cetera, et cetera. And these showcase times, which are faster than some major leaguers, are, these full, like, sort of cheating it, and then they're ready to go, and, they're doing as best they can, but there's no runner. It's a very, very different standard. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you about these players. These are really good players. I am not in any way saying these are not good. These are some of the best in the country. Like, if this is the standard, that's what it is. And so I'm not taking one thing away from these players. These are phenomenal young catchers who are phenomenal throwers. These are, the potential major leaguers of the future. But the reason that their pop times are faster than major leaguers are not because of anything more than the showcase enforcement and the showcase environment. I mean, this is big league arm strength from these catchers. There's no other way to describe it. That's big league arm strength. Now, if they did that in a game situation, they probably wouldn't throw it quite as hard because they wouldn't get quite as much of a windup. So showcase enforcement, here's the thing. This video is not about demonizing the people who run showcases or demonizing the players who are taking advantage of this, because everyone's doing it. Showcases have to move fast. I've run showcases for the academy that I used to own. It's hard to stay on schedule and not drag the showcase out for 8 hours. If you have 50 catchers or 30 catchers, it's a lot to get them to catch the ball, throw down a second, get an accurate view of what they can do and what they can't. And so with all this, you can't just be like, hey, you cheated, go again. Hey, you cheated, go again. Hey, you cheated, go again. Hey, and then they knock it a time down. Like, you can only say, hey, you cheated, restart so many times before it's just like, all right, look, we got to get a time. And that's just sort of how it goes. But here's the thing. Showcases, they have to move fast. These guys genuinely, for the most part, do the best that they can, and they can't reasonably stop all the cheating. They can't say, oh, he reached out 6 inches too far. He reached out 6 inches farther than this other kid. Here's the thing. The scouts are going to have to follow up when they see these pop times. They're going to have to do work after that. And what I want you to understand is not cheating bad? I mean, if everyone is sort of just getting as much as they can take from these showcases and everyone's kind of cheating, then you look bad. You don't really gain much from being the one person who's like, I'm going to do this right and throw a 2.2 and I'm going to feel good about myself, even though if I had done the same thing that everyone else was sort of allowed to do, I'd throw 1.9. So what I'm going to say here is that this is not a moral issue. This is not like you should stand up for morality and throw it down, acting like it's really in a game. Because if it's the showcase standard is allowing players to throw, essentially better than major leaguers, then look, just conform to it the best you can. Try not to be so egregious about it where it's going to get you sort of like laughed at. And that's the biggest thing. If you're stepping on home plate and you're catching it so early and this is on your video, college coaches are going to be like, this kid doesn't even know the mechanics of how to throw to second base. Whereas if you're just doing your best and you're going to like reach a little bit and, you kind of like give yourself an extra 0.05 of a second because you're going after it pretty quick, that's going to be fine. Ultimately, the scouts, the college coaches, the pro scouts, they know what's going on. They're not stupid. They're going to verify, they're going to watch more video of you, and if they're going to sign you or recruit you, they're going to come to your games. So it's not like you can really hide, and it's not like this is the end-all be-all. If you throw a 1.75 at a college showcase, people are going to follow up with you, but they're not just going to send you a scholarship in the mail and say, oh, like we saw you through a 1.8, come on over to Ole Miss or Tulane or University of Texas. Like, you're in. That's not how it works. They're just going to say, okay, this kid's got something. Let's go watch him play. That's how this works. So scouts are going to combine arm strength. They're going to combine pop time. They're going to combine what they see. And this is what they're going to use, this composite view, to figure out what kind of player you are. So when you go back to some of these numbers here, they're going to scan through. They're going to say, okay, Look at JT Realmuto. He throws 81.1. That's not the strongest arm in the league. Not it's far from it, right? But look, his exchange is 0.68. That's faster than these other guys. So this guy throws 85.7, but he has a slower exchange, 0.77. So you can see that, yeah, he throws harder than Realmuto does, but his exchange is slower. So Realmuto is a faster thrower. He gets the ball to second base faster than he does. So it's not just either or, and the scouts they'll look for that. They'll be like, hey, yeah, he's a little slow with his hands, but man, he throws 85, so he's got a cannon. That makes up for it. So one of the things that you need to understand is, scouts are going to consider the whole view. They're not just going to say, here's your pop time, great, whatever. They're going to look at arm strength, all of it, and your mechanics, and how strained it looks. Like, did you really throw your life depended on it at the camp, or was it a pretty normal representation of what you do in a game? So what should you do here? Because this is where I'm going to give you some advice. I think you need to conform to the broken standard. It's a broken standard in showcases. Look, again, a lot of the guys, I know a lot of people that work in baseball where they're evaluating players, they're working for showcase companies. They're not bad people. There's a lot of money made at the top, but that doesn't mean that the coaches who are making $20 an hour running these camps are bad people who are just there isn't a malicious intent in this. And the players don't have a malicious intent. They're just trying to do the best they can, and they're trying to get as much as they can and put out the best pop time that they can. That's what we need to understand. So yeah, I laugh when I see these pop times. When I see a high school kid that throws 72 with a 1.8 pop time, I'd laugh because it's not real, it's fake. But at the same time, it's real in the sense that that's the way it's done. And so your 1.8 stacks up relatively well to the other players. If everyone throws a 1.1, then we have an idea of how to compare you to other players. So I don't think this is a moral issue. Again, this is important. It's not a moral issue whether you cheat to grab that ball and get it down to second base a little quicker. It's just look, conform to the standard that everyone's being held to. And it's a broken standard, but that's the standard nonetheless. So I wouldn't hurt yourself by saying, I'm going to really act like this is a game, this is a game and be extra slow and throw a 2.15 and feel good about it. Dude, just throw the 1.95 that you can throw within the limits of what they're allowing you to do, and go about your merry way and see if someone will come watch you play, and then they'll see what you really can do in a game. But I will say, don't go around bragging so much about your fake pop time. That's not going to be good for your credibility. I would also say, again, do your best within the showcase rules. So respect the coaches. Don't just try to they're saying, hey, slow down. Hey, don't cheat. Hey, don't, let it get to you. Respect that and do the best you can to respect the boundaries of the coaches and their time and the rules. So don't be that guy, right? Who's stepping on home plate when he's throwing a second base. But just remember that a good pop time does earn you a chance to show off your real skills. That's what this is. And even if the standard is broken, it's going to be all relative. And so put yourself in the fold relative to other players. And again, remember that scouts are going to sort it out what you can actually do. So the pop time is just going to get scouts out to your games, and then it's still going to be sink or swim based on how you do in actual baseball matches. Right? I like to say matches. It makes me laugh. So hopefully today's video was helpful. Look, there are some phenomenal young throwers, and the guys that I showed, I got that data just from straight off the web. It's public information from Perfect Game. Those are some phenomenal throwers. Throwing a 175, throwing 85 as a catcher, that's great. I mean, hats off to you guys that can do that. And if you're not there yet, so be it. But just understand that you're not going to throw a 175 in a game in all likelihood, ever, probably ever. And if you're 1.9, you're running around bragging about it as a freshman in high school, throwing 68 at second base, but you throw a 1.9. That's not reality either. So just take it with a grain of salt. Parents, understand that big leaguers throw about a 2 flat on average, maybe a little less. That's about where we're at these days. And so if your kid is exceeding that, just, again, take it with a grain of salt, but continue to push, train hard, work on your arm strength, work on your clean footwork, work on your receiving skills. And those are the things that college scouts and pro scouts are looking for. All right. So I hope this video was helpful. Again, I'm Coach Dan Blewett. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you here in the next video.